Welcome friends, I'm so glad you could be here today with me. I'm really excited because so many of you have asked for my sugar cookie recipe and I'm finally making it happen. This is a no spread, super soft, super thick cookie. You can decorate with royal icing or buttercream frosting or chocolate. I'm going to show you a couple different ways that I like to decorate. But let's start with the dough. The other great thing about this recipe is you don't have to refrigerate the dough for several hours like a lot of recipes call for. There is a freezing point that at one point we're going to freeze them, but I'll show you all that. Let's start with the dough. In here I have 2 cups of sugar. Don't forget, I will have the written instructions in the description box below this video, all written out in cups and grams. 2 cups of white sugar. I am going to add 1.5 cups or 3 sticks of unsalted butter. Make sure it's real butter. Make sure you're not using margarine or a butter substitute. It just won't work as well. Okay, and then now here's my secret ingredient. I have 4 ounces of cream cheese. And what this does is it keeps the cookie really soft and it adds a lot of flavor. If you've ever tried just a basic plain sugar cookie, they can kind of taste kind of just floury and bland, but this will add a lot of flavor and keep that cookie soft without spreading. So 2 cups of sugar, we've got the butter and the cream cheese in there, and I'm gonna go ahead and mix that together. Okay, that's looking good. Let's scrape it down. And I'm going to add 2 eggs to this and 1 tablespoon of vanilla and 4 teaspoons of pure almond extract. So that's a tablespoon plus a teaspoon of the almond extract. You don't have to use the almond extract, you can just use vanilla, that's fine. But I love that kind of amaretto flavor in there. So let's add the eggs first, 2 eggs. And then a tablespoon of vanilla and a tablespoon plus a teaspoon of the almond extract, or 4 teaspoons, that's the same thing. I just like a little bit extra almond flavor. All right, I'm gonna scrape this down before adding my dry ingredients. And oh my goodness, that smells so good. Okay, for the dry ingredients, I'm going to add 6.5 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm gonna start, just add the flour gradually on a low speed. That's 1. I'm gonna get something to help me level this off. After I've added about 2 cups of the flour, I like to add the soda or the powder and salt. So 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Just don't lose track of your flour. I've done that before. So I have 2 in there. This is 3. This is 4. This is 5. and this is 6. And I'm gonna stop at 6 and give it a test. Let's let that mix all the way. Okay, we're gonna test this dough out. You want to be able to work with it, still a tiny bit sticky. I'm not patient and I don't like to have it sit in the fridge for a couple hours to chill. So I want to get this so where I can work with it right away. Still a tiny bit sticky, so I'm going to add a little bit more flour. Six and a half, yeah. Pretty much need 6.5 cups of flour. Perfect. Okay, our cookie dough is done. Get that off. Lift that off. Okay. And we are ready to work with this and roll it out. Okay, now we are ready to roll out the dough. I like to have my cookie sheets ready to go. I've got parchment paper here. There we go. Parchment paper here. And I'm going to generously flour the surface. And I like to work with about half the dough at a time. All right, I'm just gonna roll this out. I like it pretty thick, but it's personal preference. I like a nice, thick, soft sugar cookie. So I'm gonna go anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 inch thick. Yeah, I like that, that's good. And then I'm going with just some little flour cookie cutters. And then you can just reuse the dough over and over. Just pull off the excess, roll it out again. And you're just gonna pick it up gently, place it on your cookie sheet. You can put them close together because these are not going to spread. That's the great thing about this recipe. However, at this point, this is where you need to chill your dough. So you are going to put this in the freezer for 20 minutes minimum until that dough is completely frozen. And that is the secret to the no spread sugar cookie. If I were to put them in right now, they would puff up and kind of spread a little bit. I want them to hold their shape. So we're gonna stick them in the freezer, minimum of 20 minutes. All right, these have been in my freezer for a minimum of 20 minutes and they are frozen solid. I'm going to put them in the oven at 350 degrees. 8 to 10 minutes, you want them barely golden on the bottom, but on the top, you don't really want any color. And another way to tell that they're done is it won't look like wet or moist anymore in the center of the cookie. It will look fully baked, but we're not going for a golden color on top of these sugar cookies. All right, I have my cookies out of the oven and you can see there's just a hint of the brown on the bottom. Because these were quite thick, they actually took about 12 to 13 minutes to bake all the way through. And I have let them cool all the way. I think it's easiest to decorate a refrigerated or even a frozen cookie because then it's just not gonna break or crumble on you because these are quite a soft cookie. Now, I'm gonna show you 2 different ways you can decorate these. If you're like me, I don't love royal icing. I think it's really pretty to decorate with, but I just personally am not a huge fan of the flavor and that hard crunch on the top. So I'm going to show you a couple different options. The first one, I have candy melts. I'm going to use 2 colors today, but I've used like 7 colors before for a rainbow effect. And I'm going to melt these in the microwave. Just heat them gradually because the chocolate can separate and break, and it's grainy and then it's no good. So just 20-30 seconds at a time until it's melted. While that's finishing, over here I have piping bags that I've placed over. I cut a small hole, really small hole in the bottom, and I placed them over a bag, and I'm going to pour the chocolate in there. Now for the chocolate ones, it's going to kind of go all over. Let's do these. We'll do 2 big ones and 3 small. Okay. So I place them on some wax paper because what I'm going to do is I'm going to just drizzle that. It's white chocolate flavored. I'm going to drizzle that over and let it dry, and then I'll be able to pick it up off the wax paper. And it's like royal icing, but it's a softer bite. And I just like it so much better. And I'm sure you could get really creative and put it in the piping bags and draw with it like you do royal icing. But for today, I'm just gonna do a quick technique. Okay, so this is fully melted. I'm going to pour it in my bag. And I probably didn't need this much. This is like for like a big batch of cookies, but okay. Now I'm gonna start with the darker color. And all I'm gonna do, this comes out quickly, so work quickly. All I'm gonna do is just kind of zigzag back and forth. I want quite a bit of coverage because I like the full cookie to be covered in the chocolate. And then I'm going to get my lighter. Now I've done this with, like I said, 7 different colors. I'll show you my other cookie that I did with lots and lots of, just for fun, let's go the other way. For the second color. I'm not done yet. I'm going to go over it again. A little more coverage. And last time with my yellow. Okay, now these do need to set for a good 20-30 minutes just on your counter. Or you could do this on a baking sheet and stick them in the fridge or freezer. But when it's dry, you'll be able to just peel the cookie right off. And I'm gonna show you a finished one that I made a couple days ago. And I melted lots of different colors of the candy melts and just did like a rainbow effect. So you can do that. There are just endless possibilities you could do with the chocolate. Now, the second way to decorate, my personal favorite, I just love a good buttercream on a good sugar cookie. So you can use any tip, you can use any color, you could just spread it on with a butter knife, really. I'm using pink and yellow. And just for today, just for an easy and fun technique, I'm just gonna do like little flowers. So I'll pipe it and pull it in on the outside. And then I will go over that with, put that down here, I think it'll be easier. With the yellow. finish. Ah, pretty. And then maybe let's do a small one, starting with the yellow. This would be a really fun activity with the kids. Just fill lots of piping bags with different color. I'm using the open star here, but any different color buttercream and different tips. There we go. Thank you for being here today in my kitchen. I'm so glad you could join me. If you try these at home, I'd love to hear feedback. And if you have any questions, you can comment below and I will do my best to get to all your questions.